All right, guys, on to our next project. We got behind me good old trusty bin number 1. I don't know if it had a manufacturing defect in it, maybe the plastic was a little thin or something on one side, but one way or another, when I had a tree go sideways on me, I ended up dropping it dead square on bin number 1. Anyways, in all fairness, this thing squished down almost a half of its size like a marshmallow. The top didn't break. The front gate door didn't break. The main bin, though, it's a little rough. I'm not sure if it's going to buff out. I'm going to see if I can save the bin. It doesn't have to look perfect. The top ring looks like it's still fine in one piece. It looks like it's mostly round, so the lid should sit on it. So I don't know, we'll give her a go. We'll see. Who knows, right? I might end up wasting a few bucks worth of zip ties and epoxy, but if it works out, we save a bunch of money, right? So that's never a bad thing. I think we should just start off by making sure that the lid actually still does go on, because if it doesn't, it's probably not worth our time. Will it turn? It will. How is that possible? Drop the tree on the top of this thing. Pieces went flying. I was just curious to see if there's a tag on here in terms of what it's made out of, and I don't see one, but I did find this. Look at this. If you can see that. Made in Canada. That could have something to do with why this thing was able to take the beating it did and not completely disintegrate. So the epoxy I'm using today is called a slow cure epoxy. You can work with it for 30 minutes. This thing bonds to 4,500 pounds per square inch. So it's tenacious stuff. It's made in the US by a company called Bob Smith. Pretty much the only thing you can't use this on is ceramic or rubber. I'm going to start from the inside. There we go. Alright, well, this is, as you can see, going to be a little tedious. So why don't you come back in half an hour? That's better. That's looking pretty good. I mean, in a Frankenstein-y kind of way, but still. That's pretty good. I'm not sure if it would be best to stop and let it dry for a bit. It probably would be. I'm going to keep going, and we'll see. If it starts turning into a mess, I'll stop. But I think I'm going to make sure, I'm going to keep up with the seam here, because once that cures, I might not be able to get any more in here. Oh, that's a plan and a half. Leave it? Yeah, we don't want you in that. Yep, you gotta leave that. You get that on your chops, it's not coming off, ever. Leave it. I'm just gonna put that out of the way, just in case. Oh yeah, good stuff. I suddenly realized why I have like 1,000 Zap Straps. Now this piece is next. Need a little bit of plastic, a couple of clamps. I'll sacrifice a glove. Not that I don't want to get epoxy on my clamps, I just don't want to epoxy the damn clamp to the bin. that ball for me to throw. That for me? No. All right, well, we've now got this top ring section glued up, and also this bottom area down here is glued up. Once that's done, then I'm going to try gluing this piece in here, but this whole section in here is really tucked in, and so I'm probably going to have to wrench on it kind of hard, and so I want to just let this stuff dry up first, and then I'll worry about this little piece. And if this little piece doesn't even fit very nice, it's not the big deal. As long as the lid closes and the gate at the bottom closes, I think we'll be in business. I've used a lot more zip ties than I thought I probably would, but zip ties are cheap, right? You know, compared to the price of these things, it's nothing. So the epoxy that cured from last night is tough as nails. I'm happy with that. It's great. So I think once this thing's all cured up, we're going to be good to go. Well guys, the lid works great. The front gate works just fine, and this thing is actually surprisingly stout. I was a little bit concerned that when I first picked it up and started moving it, that the seams might just start cracking again, but that epoxy is really clinging on there good. So I'm gonna zap strap the bottom on. That's something I've started doing now. When you look at this bottom plate, it has these ridges here, and that is supposed to fit in this groove or channel along the base here. And it does when it's new and it hasn't been used. But what happens is, as these things sit out in the sun and you fill them up, the material's pushing out on them, the bottom actually stretches out some. And then it just stretches off of this base. And then when the wall of the container is off of the base, it'll slip off a bit, and you'll sort of get a bit of a lean going on, and it just kind of gets a little wonky. So what I'm trying this year is I'm using some large zap straps, and I'm actually zap strapping through these peg holes and a few other spots right through this bottom lip. Okay, so like I said last night, I would just show what I'm doing with the bottom parts here. So from the factory, they put in these little raised ridges, which then made up with this channel that runs around the rim. And when it's brand new, of course, it looks like it's going to work out great. But it doesn't take too long for these bottoms to start to swell out, especially I found in the hottest months, or when the black plastics are getting soft. And then once the bottoms start to swell out, one edge will invariably slip off, and then the bin starts to lean and tilt, and it just gets cattywampus, you know. There is no saving it without digging out the bin, emptying everything, and sort of resetting it, and yeah, which isn't fun. So my solution to that is to use a much heavier duty, that's not one, these are them, a much heavier duty zip strap. And these guys are much more of an industrial quality. I start off by anchoring the 4 stake holes in the corners here. Alright, next what I do is I make use of these additional holes that they've already put in here. I just sort of work my way around. So I'll get these 2 edges lined up reasonably close. There is a hole here, but they didn't put any hole in the barrel section. So I'm not quite sure what the deal is with that or why, but it doesn't really matter. And then I'll just use some of these sort of medium duty zap straps around the perimeter. Yeah, just like that. And now we have a very much rigid sort of setup, and we don't really have to worry so much about making sure our base is perfect. The only reason why you needed like a nice firm and flat sort of a perfect base before was just so that these would sit properly. Now I found I can just throw some dirt down underneath it, level it out half decently, but you know, you don't have to get too picky, and they seem to be doing it just fine. So we'll go put this guy in and put him to use. Might not be the prettiest one. It's got a story to tell. Isn't that what matters most anyways? Making sure there's a good story somewhere in there. I still cannot get over the fact that the lid works. Enviro-World, my hat is off to you guys. You built a good product.